Good morning, everyone. Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats, where we bring page turners your way. How are you guys doing? Dr. Velma, she knows. This is my outfit, guys. I absolutely love this shirt. Dr. Velma, The Catch. No One Wants. This is the first book of her series. And also, she did not ask me to do this, but I absolutely love her writing. So, Dr. Velma has a book out. It is the fourth book in the series. It is titled The Wrong Catch. She'll Tear Down the House. OMG. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to show you guys the book cover if it comes up. Hopefully it does. There it is right there. That is the book cover. Guys, I'll title this later because today my guest is going to be Herbie Mack, and he is a suicide prevention. That's what he does, suicidal prevention. And we'll talk to him in a moment. And I cannot wait to talk to Herbie. Herbie Mack is his name. And I am looking forward to that talk with him. Also, again, here is the book, Dr. Velma's book, The Wrong Catch. This is the fourth book in the series, guys. And let me tell you, you have Mr. Garrison. Let me put this down. Now it doesn't want to do what I want it to do. I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about it. But if you guys have been following her story, this is the fourth book in the story. Oh, come on. Come on, tablet. And this is the fourth book in the story. Oh, now I want to act up. So, the fourth book in the story, The Wrong Catch, She'll Tear Down the House. So get ready for that. Monk Don, I thank you for being on here. Do swipe, and share, because we are going to have a guest on here, and I cannot wait to talk to Herbie Mack. And he is suicide prevention specialist. So we're going to talk to him, and you guys hear me say more, but that is the book there. You have Garrison, Mr. Dawson, his daughter. He was talking to her in the first 3 series about getting the wrong date. So she was not using her father tools. She had a goal of being married by 35 or in her 30s. And a lot of women do have that, where they want to be married, in their 30s. Not knowing what it takes to be married. I've been married myself for 31 years, been with my husband for 35 years total. And ladies, those who are thinking about marriage, those who want to be married, it's not just putting on the ring. It's not just that. No. There's some work to be done. Not just catching the fish and reeling them in, and now you scaled him and then he just sit on the couch. Hunty, there is some work to be had. So, cannot wait to read the book and tell you more about it. Also, we are a reading group. I know I just started talking at you. I'm Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats, where we bring page turners your way. We are a reading group as well as a book business. If you are an author out there, we do have a show on, we do it on Wisdom. Today, this show we call Scout Out, Shout Out. We do have some talks here. We do talk about books here. If you are a new writer, I don't care if you got your book yesterday. I don't care if your book just dropped in your lap. Do come so we can talk about your book. And it's impromptu. Have book in hand, and we just talk about your book. Don't be afraid to talk about your book. So it is exciting. And like I said, we are a reading group. And our book that we're reading 2 books. And we're going to discuss it Thursday, this coming Thursday. Sorry about that. You're going to hear a lot of rattling paper because I got a lot of things to tell you. We have 2 books that we're reading. One, if you can hear me, Don Mac, do give me some pounds and let me know that you can hear me. Hopefully I got this volume up. Let me try to do this. Make sure the volume is up. That way when my guests come, let's see. That was a little low to me. There we go. That way my guests come, we can hear each other really well. And also, like I said, we are a reading group. Here's the book we're reading. Terry McMillan's book. This book, well, it's new to me. I had no idea about this book. One of the girls in our reading group, Wendy R. said she chose this book of the month. And if you don't, everybody knows Terry McMillan, I think. I'm not going to assume. Terry McMillan, her book is Not Downhill, Not Down, All Down. I'm sorry. It's Not All Downhill from Here. And that's Terry McMillan. Absolutely love this book. You have the main character there, Loretta Curry. And Loretta Curry is a hot-butted mess. You know, it gives you that adult, senior type living, witty, comical. They talk about health awareness. They talk about friendship and also community. They're a great community. And Terry McMillan, she is the narrator in her book as well. You will see her daughter, Jalicia. I hope I say her name right. And she's an alcoholic. And Laretha knows it. She don't walk and tiptoe around it. She knows it. She tell her about her daughter. But then her daughter, she is really not living at home with her. She's living with someone else, and that person loves her just as well. And Laretha will do cameos and different things like that. But it's her 68th birthday. And what Laretha is telling her friends, they kind of tell her that, you know, when you're in your 60s, you're downhill. Well, I'm in my 60s. I'm 61. Don't mind telling you guys that. And it's not downhill. It's not all downhill when you get to that 60 and 60 plus. There's life to be had. So we talking about that, and we're going to talk about this over on Wisdom. Again, this is one of the books here. And this is the first time we ever talked about two books. We never talked about two books at one time. So we're going to discuss this over on Wisdom. And as I say, on Tuesday, it is the Scout Out, Shout Out, and we talk about different things in the community here on Instagram. So we only hear once a week, and that's Tuesday only. And we do our commercial like we're doing now. And if anybody out there that's an author, we pull them up. Pull up and talk about your book. Get it out there. And so our next book that we're talking about, Sadiqa. I hope I say it right. Sadiqa Johnson. This is her book, OMG. Others in the group are finished. I'm almost finished. I think about 5 chapters from finishing, but I will be finished before we do it. This, Sadiqa. And I hope I say your name right. Sadiqa. I hope I say your name right. Please forgive me. This book is off the chain, off the chain. In this book, you have 2 characters here. And this is settled in the 1950s. You have Ruby Parcell, and she is will be the first in her family to graduate. Her mom, just all she think about is a man, and so Ruby does not want to do that. She wants so much more. She's 15 years old. She want to go to college. She want to make something of herself. Meanwhile, you'll meet Eleanor Quarles. Eleanor. She meets this guy, Mr. Williams, who's in an elite family. They're a DC wealthy black family. And just like that. So snooty patooty, high yalla. They have to be real bright. The skin have to be good to be in this family. So there's a lot of things that happen with Eleanor and her love interest that she's sought after. Just so much drama. She got some secrets herself, and you'll see that unfold here. But Eleanor thinks that a baby would make this relationship move along. But it doesn't. It does not. But you'll see in the story. So the 2 ladies, Eleanor and Ruby, their lives will collide, and they will see what is the outcome or the trajectory of both of their lives. I'm gonna do this, and I have another book out here. Just a minute. I'll make sure that I have the have the invite for my guests. Let me go back. There's the invite. The invite. And so I'm loving this book. It's such a dark, dark story. The backdrop of both girls is a really dark story. And it's so good. You did a good job, Sadiqa. You did a good job. High five to you. And five, I give you a five. Also, we do have a book that we're reading. Hopefully, the rest of us read it, but I got a chance to, and this is a vintage book. I got it from a seller. It is a very vintage book. It's See Jane Run by Joy Fielding. No, we won't have her or anything like that, but here's her book here. And this was a movie. I got a chance to, about 15 plus years ago, to do a conference call with Joy Fielding. And this is an amazing story. If you guys want to put that, and it was a movie. I didn't see the movie. I'm going to have to reach back and get the movie. But Joy Fielding, this book right here, you have the Mary Higgins Clark. Let's tell you, when it begins with the story, you'll see that Mary Higgins Clark meets Jane Whitaker, an attractive middle-aged woman, when she suddenly finds herself alone on the street of Boston with blood splattered all over the front of her dress, $10,000 in cash in her pocket, and absolutely no idea of who she is. She can't remember her name, her age, where she lives, or even what she looks like. After a terrifying night of hiding, Jane ends up in a hospital while undergoing a battery of medical tests. She recognized by one of the nurses. Soon her husband comes to claim her. He is wait a minute. I'm sorry, guys. I should have had my readers, but he is every woman's dream. Her husband is every woman's dream. Popular. It's such a good story. Oh, I see you there. I'm stumbling over my reading. Should have put my readers on. Go ahead and hit that button. I'll title this later, Herbie. I'll title it later when I send it out. Come on in the room. Hit that button. But C.J. Run was a good book. It was a really good book. It was so long ago. Let me try again. Hopefully you're able to get in here. There we go. All right. Uh-oh. Don't know what happened. I did see it light up. I'm going to accept you. Yes!
Hello, how are you?
And you, look, it is so good to see your face. We talked about a year and a half ago.
Yes.
I don't even remember what my conversation was, but it was a different title. And you was very transparent. You went in and you started telling us about yourself. And I was so amazed. And then I didn't find you. Then I seen you on, I can't think of her name, but just last week, I saw you on her show and I said, there he is. But let's get into this. And then let's get into the backdrop of your story. And thank you for coming. Thank you for saying yes. And to you guys that are out there, Herbie Mack.
Well, first of all, thank you for your patience. I was stuck in traffic trying to drop the kids off to school, so I
Right.
appreciate it.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, so um, my story, well, I can go to like my signature story. Just want to give a trigger warning to those, it's early and I always find it courteous just to give people a trigger warning. So, waking up to the sound of someone banging at my door. As I open the door, I realize it's my ex-girlfriend. I'm trying to figure out why she's here. Instantly, she's like, Herbie, why do you look like that? Why do you smell like that? Hello? Are you going to answer me? But the whole time, I'm just trying to decide if I should tell the truth because every male told me I can't be weak, I can't be vulnerable, I have to man up. She wants to know something was wrong with me. Then she uttered these words, I love you, I'm here for you. So I decided to tell her the truth. This is the third day in a row I attempted suicide. And to be honest, it would have been the fourth if you didn't come knocking. Instantly, she starts crying and hands me a phone as I wipe the tears from my eyes. She said, call the suicide prevention lifeline number. So I did. As I'm on the phone, I'm speaking to the counselor, and the counselor said, sir, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel today? I'm probably negative 10. To be honest with you, it's the first time in my life I don't trust myself by myself. So she recommended I check myself in the behavioral health center. So I did. After that, I'm getting evaluated by a couple of nurses, and one of the male nurses stopped me and said, look, I don't know if you believe in God or not, but he's going to use you to share your story to help others. But at the time, I had no idea what he was talking about. To be honest, I wanted my pillow, my blanket, and cry. If someone thinks about attempted suicide, let alone being in a place like that. A few moments pass by, I get evaluated by the psychiatrist who's running the facility. He glances at my file and says, oh, you're from the Bronx. Okay, so hey, take this. But something on the inside said, hey, Herbie, this doesn't feel right. Speak up. Just speak up. So I did. Take what? Why am I taking this? He glances at my file and says, oh, that's right, you're from the Bronx. I know people from the Bronx don't have a high IQ and can't really read or write that well. I just want to put this out there where people throw labels at you, tell them labels are made for jars, not people. So does he want to communicate with me? No. Care to communicate with me? I went right back to that same male nurse and asked him, hey, is there anything that I can do that can empower my mental health? Because I don't trust this guy. And he suggests I try journaling. So I did. When I was journaling, I realized the trigger of my depression was my parents for not teaching me how to love myself. Here I am dating someone else, hoping that they could teach me how to love myself. Sounds ridiculous every time I think about it, to be honest with you. 2 days passed by. Now I got to see another psychiatrist. This time she's like, hey, Herbie, why you're not taking a prescription that we provide to you? You're bipolar 1. I was like, oh, this is the first time I've ever heard of this. Bipolar 1, what? I said, no one just told me that. The first guy didn't tell me that. So she did her homework and checked to see. And so she decided to give me an evaluation. It took 1 hour or so. Passed with flying colors. She said, you just seem depressed. So I'm going to recommend therapy. I'm not going to lie to you. That was not an option because I was broke. So I did the next best thing. I went to Google and typed in how to love yourself. As I typed in how to love yourself, I see something called positive affirmations. Never heard of it. Said I needed that love and attention, I decided to take it to the extreme. So I put sticky notes in the mirror, bedroom, bathroom, even the wall. Then I started talking to myself in the mirror, telling myself I am loved, I am smart, I can change the world if I just believe. Some of my buddies found out that I was having suicidal attempts and ideations. So they want to cheer me up and take me out to the club since my nickname was Anything Possible for the fact that I love Hennessy so much. But I discovered something called boundaries. Look, bro, I love you, but I can't go out with you. Because once I start drinking, I turn into that Incredible Hulk and I can't control that, man. They didn't get it, but they respect it. So I kept journaling. Along journaling, I discovered something called forgiveness. See, I had to forgive my parents for not teaching me how to love myself due to the fact of they lost their daughter to brain cancer. I lost my sister to brain cancer. So they was depressed. Then I had to do the hardest thing ever. I had to forgive myself because I was depressed, trying to damage my body and end my life. See, I share part of this story because I personally went from hopelessness to happiness, and I want others to know that you can achieve that. For those who are wondering about my ex-girlfriend, she's now my wife, and she blessed me with 2 amazing kids. So thank you.
I love it, love it, love it. And I remember talking to you, and I remember these words that you're telling me now. And when you said, and I don't know if you remember this, but a part of talking to you right now, and I remember almost a year ago speaking with you, is when you said that you advocated for yourself against the doctors. And no one would take that type of stance, not even on 10 toes, to advocate for themselves. And then you also said that they knew you were from a particular era, which means that you were dispensable from the start. And so you said within yourself. I'm so glad you did. Like I said, I cannot remember what my topic was on wisdom, but that was meant to be. And so I want to ask you here today, for those who haven't heard you, and we just jumped right in it. Tell them who you are, your name, and also I like the fact, Herbie, that you are one when they attempt prevention. It means, like, before, to me, when I seen that, you are the type that advocate during the attempt, and someone that is actually personally knows back. It reminds me of a person who is a supervisor, but they've never done the work, but they get the money. You're on the opposite side where you've done the work and you know what those secret I'm okays, those secrets, just let me go to sleep, just let me, you know all of that. And before you get in, just tell the folks, thank you, Kevin, for being here. Tell the folks your name, and you are a suicide prevention specialist.
Yeah, so I'm Herbie Mack, and I'm a suicide prevention specialist. My experience being at the behavioral health center was one of the things that I was like, I have to do something about this, right? Like speak about suicide, be an advocate about it, but also teach people who don't know the signs, right? I had friends that was close to me that didn't really know the signs of suicidal ideation. Even coworkers didn't know what to look for, right? And it's not only just in the language of like, oh, I'm not going to be here, or I'm not worried about that, or anything like that. It was just my behavior, right? I pretty much was nice and neat, went to work, and clothes is extra wrinkled, right? My cologne that I used to wear, I'm not really wearing cologne, right? Like you just notice like the behavior patterns, the mood of me being the happy-go-lucky guy to like being like, leave me alone, like you're irritating me.
Mhm.
And then also, I'm showing up to work all the time, and then started just declining, missing work, like randomly, right? People calling, do not disturb, do not. Those was the behavior patterns and the signs of like something was going on, and most people didn't recognize it. Some of us, obviously, we live in our own world, our own bubble, and some of us like, oh, they're just going through something, and they may just be too scared to say, are you thinking about suicide? Because it's something that not my friend, not my brother,
Yeah,
not my son, not
yeah.
my, not my uncle, not you. You just don't think it would happen to you until you have those conversations. You start, hey, what's going on? I noticed that you're missing work. Or I noticed I'm calling you, and you send me straight to voicemail. I visit your house. Your house is pitch black. Like, what's going on? Like, let's sit down and have a conversation.
Hmm. And just get in that talk. And just because I'm just going to be honest, that we are both people of color, Black people, whatever they're calling us nowadays. So, do you think, in your own personal opinion, that we as a society, I'm talking about the women population, especially us as Black women, do we? And this is not a race thing; it's a everybody thing. But we know certain communities, our communities, this is kind of hard. Do you think we allow space for a man to say he has trauma?
During my single days, it was no. Women. Most of the women that I was interacting with was like, He's cute. He has money. He has his own place. My emotions wasn't really validated too much. It wasn't like, it was pretty much surface conversation. Oh, hey, you want to go check a movie? You want to go do that? But it wasn't the deep conversation of like, I'm struggling. And then those that I was saying like I'm struggling out loud to, they were just like, well, what are you doing? Like, you're a man. You're supposed to be strong. Like, we're all going through it. And I realized, obviously, that person wasn't for me, but it wasn't, being a male in America, as a black male, the window of space is not that open. It wasn't available with any of the females I was talking to during the time. It was only acceptable at the barbershops, right? We get a haircut, we could, we could talk about sports, and then every now and then we talk about our issues, and then that turned into a debate. And that was something that I was like, man, we need like where's the safe space for me as far as like, man, maybe I want support from, you know, a woman that I'm seeing. How can she create space? And that's the point of me doing this. Like, it wasn't until I saw Run DMC, from DMC,
Hmm.
like, DMC from Run DMC. I have his book, 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide. That's the name of the book. And I was just like, yo, this dude is like a hip hop legend, but he was able to actually talk about his suicide, attempts, and being very vulnerable and transparent. I never saw that in anyone that I grew up with that was like that transparent, especially like someone of that stature of legend. So that really inspired me to do the inner work, to start healing, but also to show up to these places, be authentically me, and say, hey, yeah, I'm a dude, but I do cry. I do have my emotions. I do have my bad days. But now I want to create a safe space for those who look like me, who are going through similar situations. That, hey, man, it's okay. And then also, like, believe it or not, I get a lot of females that would DM me, hey, can I send your information to my husband? Can I send it to my brother? Can I send it to my cousin and my son? And I love it. And I'm like, this is the reason why I started doing it, because I know for some guys, if they don't see a guy talking about it, they don't resonate with a woman or anything like that.
That is so true. And so how do you start that conversation with me and a male counterpart? How do you start that conversation with I have trauma?
Well, you just have to be open and honest, right? Like how I do it and how my wife do it is I do it courteous. Hey, do you have space for me? This
Hmm.
is what I'm going through right now. If you don't have the emotional space for me, it's okay. Can we set something up for that?
Hmm.
Right? Because I want to be open and transparent. I want to know like the things I'm going through. It's a safe space for me not to just trauma dump on you or dump all my emotions on you. Because you may be going through something that I don't know about. But just creating that safe space and then just having that conversation and just listening. Most
Hmm.
of us listen to reply but not listen to understand. And that's the biggest thing. Is like just listen.
That's so true. With us women, we can do that. We have safe spaces. We have boyfriend you made you mad space. We have I'm not feeling good. I feel all this. We have those spaces. We really do. And then we also know when we're isolating from our girlfriends because you could not call, hey, I hadn't seen you in a while, and come on over, sit down. We don't want to do that. Come on over, because the moment you sit there, you say, you okay? Tears start falling. With you guys, you get together and you say, you okay? You walk away not feeling okay. We know. No, you're not fine. Sit here and let us know. No, y'all like good. I'm good. See you tomorrow, bro. And haven't talked about a thing. Have not talked about one simple thing. Do you think getting counsel, especially in our community, Black community, we consider it weak? Weak.
Yeah, and that
Weak.
yeah. I just did a interview with someone and I was just talking about that as far as like therapy or counseling. I don't find it weak, right? Like not at all. In my mind, it's just say there's something holding you back and you don't know what's holding you back. You have that conversation with this person. They're just gonna, hey, all this baggage that you're carrying, this is what's holding you back,
Hmm.
right? Let's remove some of that. They're going to teach you coping skills, coping strategies to remove that baggage, the thing that's weighing you down, so you can actually be successful as you want to be or thrive in your life in the way that you want. So I don't view it as weak. It's just like you see people hiring coaches, right? For whatever issues that they have. You see people hiring a book coach. You see people hiring a fitness coach. It's the same thing mentally. Hey, you need a mental, a fitness coach, and these guys are professionals in that field. So it's like,
Hmm.
oh, hey, what I'm hearing is you still have trauma from when you were 7 years old. Let's get all that issues cleared out. So now, when you're, 27, 37, or even 47, you can be that person that you want to be.
Uh, that is so true. And like we were talking about, like now, still going back into the community, especially for our Black males, systemically, just being born Black and all of this stigma that we don't get a chance to move about just to wake up and breathe and walk out the door. So that upon saying, we see that what Jeezy, I have you say, I'm not into the rap culture like that. Well, he's saying that he has trauma. So we're seeing quite a few people, males, that are mentioning that. Do you think, in your own opinion, and I know, and I'm going to speak for myself as a woman, dating a man, it, you guys don't even call it trauma or broken, but the label for a woman can say she has trauma, she's broken. And so you men in general, will deal in a relationship with a broken or scorned or trauma woman. Whereas we wouldn't be able to deal with the broken man because we need to build. Do you think that you can build with a man that has trauma? Can a woman build on that? I know from our culture, we're not going to, not that we don't accept, but we can't handle our own trauma, let alone trying to, we try to help you with your trauma and stuff like that, but we want you to come and be. We don't want you being, trying to be. We want you to become who you're supposed to be.
Now you asked me, do I think a man can accept a woman with that trauma, or vice
Do you think
versa?
vice versa? Do you think a woman can accept a man with trauma and to build with him a relationship to build?
I think that only can happen only if she meets him where he's at and not where she wants him to be.
Mm, mm,
You know, it's one of those things where when you date someone, you're like, man, I'm physically attracted. They checked all these boxes, and we avoid the red flags, quote unquote. And those red flags can be some trauma that he had as a child that he's now coming to peace. If you're willing to accept that and meet him where he's at, and like, hey, I'm going to be here to hold your hand, to show support, to help you out, then yes. But if you're just like, oh man, I'm physically attracted to you, I'm just going to avoid the trauma, and you're going to be here in the next 5 years, and then 2 years later, all of his trauma comes out in the open because you know, whatever you put in that closet or under the rug, it's going to come out at some point. If you think that it won't show, then yeah, the relationship is not going to work. And you know, unfortunately, in life, you don't get time back. So why bother? So if you're willing to meet that person where they're at, yeah, it can work. But you have to understand it's going to be a process, not just say, oh, you know, he looks like Michael B. Jordan. This is going to be amazing, and not accept the baggage that he has and the issues that he's trying to work out.
mm. That is so true, and that is a great point. Just looking at the outside beauty, or him being super handsome, and not thinking about, you're both going together, and he has trauma, and you see people that get together, they're trauma bonding. You see a lot of that trauma bonding, and it just falls to the wayside. But then sometimes that trauma bonding could work, like you say, if you're willing to work on it and really to know where he is. None of us is perfect, and we don't need to try to find this perfect relationship because we're going to mess it up. But we don't allow, and I'm thinking as be our culture, we don't allow a man that has trauma to have a safe space. The minute he say, I'm not feeling like, oh, get up. You're supposed to be strong. Like you mentioned, you're supposed to be strong. The world see you as strong. You cannot show that. But at the same time, you can show weakness depending on the level of the relationship, like you said, depending on the level of the relationship. And that's what we look at, those things like that. But I am so excited just to see you when you were talking on another show and to hear you now. And I've seen some clips where you're talking with men. Are they coming to the reality that is now safe, even though the world is accepting? Let's do a mental break. I see LeBron. He has this thing he called mental workout or mental something, and then they buy the app and different things like that. But the real secure thing and knowing that we have these mental things, especially with the men, and we need y'all, man. We need that strength. We need that leader. So if you had to, I see there's men on here. If you had to speak to a man out there from your beginnings, and like you said, you are a prevention attempt, not waiting to you. You know how they wait to you
Yeah,
beating
nah,
you
I
down,
don't even want to get
wait.
that far.
They wait till you go over the top to measure you a certain thing, like you're in the okay zone, you're all right, but they don't look at it head on, the signs like you do. What would you say to those men out there that really need that help? I mean, we don't want to diagnose anybody or
Yeah,
anything like that, okay? But you know the signs, but you can't just say it. How do
yeah.
you lead the way? Those little sprinkled droplets of leading the way that this is a safe place. This is a place to be free. Let's talk about it, Ben.
So for myself, I realized the importance of support, right? You know, your support system. if you can't have a safe space with your support system, right? Like I have a bunch of, I wouldn't say a bunch, but I have a tight knit of people that I talk to, and they know when I'm not feeling right. They call me out. Like I need someone to call me out every now and then because sometimes we don't realize we're going through that. But not only do they call me out, they allow me to be weak, right? Quote unquote. I like to say vulnerable. And they allow me to be vulnerable. Hey, look, dog, I'm going through this, going through that. Life is going too much. And if can't do it, then obviously my wife, I'll tell her what's going on. And finding that person that you can be vulnerable with and letting them like be open and honest, like, hey, this is a lot. You might need to go seek counseling. You might go seek a therapist or anything like that. It's perfectly fine. So being able to get the support that you need is more crucial than anything, right? Like
Mm.
it swallow the pride, swallow the ego. We all have that, but at some point, you're somebody's husband, you're somebody's dad, you're somebody's son, you're somebody's, cousin that they look up to you. They love you. They want to see you here today. They want to see you here tomorrow. So if you feel mentally that life is overwhelming, it's okay to sit down and seek help and to have simple numbers in America 988 where you can call and you can have a conversation. They're not going to sit there and call the cops on you. They're not going to take any of your information and be like, oh, hey, this is going to be on your personal record
Mhm.
or medical record. It's just a conversation of, hey, what's going on? Okay, this is what I'm hearing. And depending on where you're at, they may be able to get you to a support group. They may be able to recommend a how do I say this in a nice way? Affordable therapist,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Where it's like, oh, hey, we got some, affordable therapist where you can see. So just being able to be open and honest is
Mhm.
perfectly fine. And, for those who don't like to be on the phone, you can even text 988 and
Mhm.
they can respond and, and guide you to what you need. I did oh my goodness, it was like last week. Last week I did NAMI, Florida conference. And there was a segment there that I was like really wanted to see was Black men in America talking about mental health. That session got canceled. Talk about mad, right? Got canceled for whatever reason. The three panelists canceled. And I was like, man, like this was one of the events that I wanted to see. Like, I'm kind of mad. There was a bunch of us that was upset about it. They canceled within like 20 minutes. I'm not even gonna lie. Like 20, 25 minutes of it. And me working with Nami, one of the Nami Pinellas, I'm working with them a few times. And it was like, well, Herbie's a speaker. He's a black man. Talks about mental health and suicide, have him speak. And I was preparing getting my keynotes ready. And I was able to do this segment with the social worker, Aisha McDonald. She's amazing. And she showed a documentary about black men talk about mental health. And I shared, my story that I shared in the beginning. But then we had a dialogue and a conversation, from someone with lived experience, someone who just only focuses on like preventing suicide, especially for black males. And, she works with black males all the time. So it was like, oh, it was like a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we do this. This event was like the highest attended event throughout the whole conference, which I didn't know. But the amount of black men that came up to me, and this guy, I would never, I'm not gonna say his name, but he was like 64 years old, and he attempted multiple times, was a functional alcoholic, and he just gave me a hug and just started crying. And I had a line of people there, like I guess everybody must have read the room, like, hey, he needs. Apparently, this guy has something important to say. And he didn't really even say anything. He just gave me a hug and just started crying. And I was like, hey, I wish I would have seen someone like you
Mhm.
40 years ago. And I'm just like, well, I'm like, first and foremost, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're still sober. I'm glad you don't have those thoughts. And he just was like, like that type of grandfather type of vibe was like, look, son, you have it. Keep on going because you're gonna help others. And that was like one of the highlights of that conference that I went to was just like, okay, I have to keep sharing my story, but not only sharing, but educating others about suicide and just to be out there with you. My last attempt was 8 years ago, and I've been as of December, coming up in December will be 6 years of being sober. So, it is possible.
I am so proud of you. The maturity from then when I talked to you on wisdom to now to see you and to just lunge it out. And like you say, that this whether they're 64 or they're teenagers or whatever, fatherlessness, you know, divorce. We don't allow too much space for men to who had loved his wife and won his wife. Man, forget about that. Go get you another woman. When you love like that, when that man and he wants his wife, you know, you guys don't have the fanfare like we have. Depend on who your friend. If you got a girlfriend that don't like your man, stop getting advice from them. You know what I'm saying? Just like that. That's no help at all. Because she didn't never
Right.
like him from the beginning. So that kind of stuff. But what you're talking about in the community, and they canceled that. I'm with health and awareness, and we are kidney disease prevention. No one wants to talk about prevention because there's no money in prevention. There is absolutely no money in prevention. So we learned from our group, health and awareness, that we're going to have a hard time because nobody wants to push prevention. They're doing it like they say, I'm here for you, those who are listening and those wherever you go. Every video I share that I see of you, I listen and share, listen and share.
Thank you.
Recently, I share everyone I'm going to tell you, Herbie, just to see you on a one-on-one, whether there's two guys. I seen a video just recently where it was three of you guys on there, and he just transparency, naked, unashamed, transparent. It doesn't mean that you're weak because you're transparent. And so what is it going to take, Herbie? What is it going to take for our community to bat away the myth that we don't need counsel?
I think having more conversations like
Mm-hmm,
this, to be honest with you,
mm-hmm,
that's why, when I do my Just Believe show, I always try to reach out to social workers, therapists, counselors, and so on to normalize the conversation, right? Because most of us is like, man, we don't need that. That's not for us. We don't do that in our culture. But it's just when I have these dialogues and they see it, and the DMs that I get is like, man, I never thought about therapy like that. I thought about it as they're trying to like trick me to do something I don't want to do, and it's just like, no, the conversation very similar to you and I. Conversations are very, you know, we're speaking directly to you, not over you, not under you, directly to you. On, hey, this is what we do, this is what we work on, and some people think like trauma is something that's like big, right? Like there's something called big trauma and little trauma. Big trauma could be, something as like a car accident, a divorce. Small trauma could be something as far as relocating, right? And what some people may think is little trauma is, man, I don't have any food in the house, right? Like, oh, that's not a big deal, whatever. That is still traumatic, and you don't realize that like years of that is buildup. So when you become an adult and you're like, man, I'm holding on to every bit of food that I can, or just showing different emotions, that is trauma, right?
mm-hmm,
And why do you feel like that? Or then you have some parents that would say, hey, what do you want to eat? Right? Like, for example, if you're out at a restaurant and your kid is like, oh, hey, mommy, I want the pizza. And mommy's like, look, that pizza is way too big for you. And hey, why don't you just go get the chicken nuggets and the french fries? And he's like, but mommy, I want pieces. That right there, you're making that child really question his decision making skills. And that is traumatic. That kid would grow up to be an adult that would have problems making decisions, right?
mm-hmm.
Because I'm so used to someone telling me what I should do and how I should do it. Now that I'm a grown man or a grown woman, I can't make my decision on my own. I need to call somebody to validate. Should I eat this? Should I buy this? Should I take this school? Like, should I take this subject in class or whatever? So just having these dialogues like that, just to normalize it, I think is good.
That would be so great just to normalize it and to see it out there and to see that Black men are saying, hey, I'm not the only one. I can do it. I mean, you could talk, don't get me wrong, you might get me, but a man could huddle up and talk about how many numbers they have, how many girls they've been with, but to talk about Where you at, man? How you feeling? Where's your mind at? What you mean? In so many instances, even whether it's church, whether it's your job or anything, men in general don't like another man telling that man what to do. And you're just giving a little bit of advice. And it seems like it's just like if I'm sharing something with you, even as a wife, if as a wife, and I'm a wife, and I've been married 31 years, been with my husband 35 years. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Even as a
Get
wife,
them flowers.
thank you, even as a wife, I learned. I'm giving out a little bit of secret. I learned that I have to, like, if I'm talking to my husband and I'm looking at something, I don't need to say it like, this is what we're going to do. Honey, what do you think about this? Because he'll give me something and want me to lead the decision, but then I'll throw it back to him. This might be a bad example. He's driving down the road and he say, hey, I'm getting me something to eat. What do you want? Well, what do you see? Well, I see this place, this place. Well, what do you, I throw it back. What do you have a taste for? Well, what's in that area? And then if I'm driving the same thing, okay, tell me I'm about 5 minutes to this. Okay, you want me to go to that one? And so I think those are the guiding communications when you talk to one another. And then sometimes it makes it feel like it's his idea.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just it all goes down to communicating, right? Learning how to communicate with others, and for myself, I realized the most important person I have to communicate with is myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? And acknowledging things that I believe, right? Like for example, if I know I don't feel like me, right? If I know I'm gonna have a conversation in that mirror, talk to myself, build up the confidence. And then, with my wife and tell her, hey, look, today I'm not feeling like myself, but I'm trying to build up my confidence. That let her know, okay, he don't have it today. He's not 100%
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm.
That gives her the self awareness. Like I might have to pick up, he might be 80%. I might have to pick up his 20%.
Mm-hmm.
But just being there and just having that dialogue, that conversation, and letting her know like where I'm at mentally, or vice versa, where she's at mentally. So this way, if we don't have it, if she's like 50%, okay, cool. I'm gonna pick up the rest. You're gonna meet me there when you can get there. Just having that conversation. As far as with the males, I try to go live multiple times with multiple males just to normalize the conversation. Because when it comes to depression, um, suicidal ideation, alcohol, substance abuse, all of that, it does not discriminate. It does not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as you were saying, like we have guys that would have conversation. They could tell you about Michael Jordan's stats. They could tell you about like LeBron James stat, right? And have this debate about who's better, Michael or LeBron, but they can't tell you how they feel,
No.
right?
Mm-mm.
Right? Oh, I'm not weak. I'm not weak. My kids, I'm not raising no weak kids. I'm like, what does that mean? Right? What do you mean not raising weak kids? Like, I allow my kids, they're young, they're 3, 5. I allow them to express yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? This
Mm-hmm.
is how we learn about how to control our emotions. If we don't learn that at this stage, then you're going to be an adult that's going to be all over the
And,
place. Tell me what you feel. Tell me, validate your emotions,
and that's what,
you know?
like you say, validate that emotion, and also making it normalized for men to say it's okay for him to say that he's not feeling well. It's okay that he's not in that mental space. We usually do that when we're married, depend on how your relationship is. Your husband say, hey, I'm not, and sometimes we might tend to dig. Here's might be a far-fetched example, but if my husband goes out the door, if your wife go out the door, you go out the door and you're missing something. You hadn't told her exactly what you need, but you come back, drive around, come back to the house. She may hand you your wallet, your keys, your ID, and you didn't have to say a word. She knew exactly what was going on. And we have to learn those unspoken times, like one time, not too recently, not too long ago, my husband was feeling some kind of a way. He didn't talk about it, but I said, I feel something.
Mm-hmm.
And we know, I mean, if you're that bond and you are married and you have that, as a wife, that something is not right. And
Yeah.
you guys generally don't want to say it. And then later on, they say, okay, I was feeling like this. Do you think that sometimes, even as a husband, you think sometimes you don't want to put the weight of what you feel, men in general, or why is it that we just can't share that moment? Are we supposed to be, as a male, super strong and not miss a beat?
That is a loaded question, but it goes back to being raised, right? Um, I being raised, every guy always was like, you can't show weakness, right? Just due to the fact of people may prey on that. And I get it because like my grandfather's like 80, 82, and I just saw him like last week. And for him, you had to be strong. There was no choice. Obviously, he was growing up with, Jim Crow laws.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
our
was just
era.
like, so it was just like one of those like, hey, you have to be strong no matter what. Therefore, yeah, my father, and my father is one of those that like that same philosophy, right? You got to be strong. You got to be all of this. And when he had me, it's like that's what I was told. But and it's like when at some point am I allowed to be weak? And the only time I was acceptable to being weak, quote unquote, or vulnerable is when I'm taking a shot of Hennessy, drinking my beer, hanging out with the friends and drinking and doing that. That was our therapy, but that's not healthy, right? I became a functional alcoholic for over a decade because of that philosophy
Hmm.
and not acknowledging my emotions and whatnot. And I had to tell my grandfather, like, look, man, I get it. That was back in your day. You had no choice. But, I created a safe space for him. Hey, but how did you feel during that? How do you feel, just taking a step back and looking back at it? And he's like, yeah, there's moments I want to cry, but I was too scared because, his dad was a tough ass on him. And I was like, I get it. But I was like, now I'm telling people to acknowledge your feelings, your emotions, even the negative ones. You can acknowledge them, but you don't have to believe them, right? Just acknowledge it.
Hmm.
Okay, cool. I went through this. I went through hell. This is what I went through. This is what I experienced. It's okay to talk about it. That experience doesn't define who you are.
Hmm.
You learned from that and you moved on.
That is
And after
so.
that dialogue, he got it.
That's true. That's true. And even like sometimes you men, your husbands, y'all need a hug, but you don't really say it, and sometimes you do. But when I'm talking about a hug, I'm talking about a
Yeah.
hug, hug, a
One
hug,
of them,
hug where a
the
man.
big church hug
I
where you want to
love to
cry.
see. I love to see it, especially when it's your significant other or something like that. Let's use just spouses and significant others. I love to see where a man lay his head on the shoulder and can lay his head back and rest his eyes. That is the best to me. Not too many people will do that, to let that guard. And I see that is that vulnerable spot. That is that secure. He feels secure right there, and he can lay down. I've done some of that stuff, and then next thing you know, my husband is asleep like this, and he needed that hug. He don't say it, but you know what I'm saying? Those kind of real hugs and different things like that. Manhood manhood seems like it's a war against manhood and our society, what's happening and different things. I love it when to see manhood. I've seen hugs where guys gave another man a hug where it felt like that was their father, you know and their father's not around. It's a 2 second pound pound and go.
Yeah.
You want this hug. I mean, men need hugs too. That's what I'm saying. So the vulnerability of talking, and even after the talk, the event, like you said, a man, perhaps a grandfather, 64 years old, give you a hug as if you were just a dear son or a dear partner of his, and maybe even a father role at that moment. At that moment, just walk with me, just at that moment for a man to cry. And I think it's strength in a man crying.
Yeah. Yeah. It was I'm not gonna lie. Like I was packing up my stuff and, when he came out of like left field and gave me the hug, like I could tell, like it was so much emotion that he was carrying for years.
Mm,
And maybe my story resonated with him, but maybe he was at the point of like, man, maybe I should do this one day because he does work in the community. He does amazing work, but he was like to see someone like you that's brave enough to do that. He's like, I was going through stuff, but I wasn't that brave enough to share it. It was
yeah.
probably over 200 people in that room, and I'm just like, well, my pain I want to be a learning lesson for others, and I want people to understand. Like I see you and I hear you because I've been through there. I've been through that. And for that like moment, like we had like probably 2 or 3 minutes, and we just hugged it out, and he was like thankful. And then I saw him like later on, and he was like, "Hey, thank you, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you." And I'm like, "No, I'm proud of you for being vulnerable enough to share the information that you have with me, but also creating space for others as well."
Hmm. One more thing, and the show is about to end. I got another show to go on to, and I know
Hey,
you got.
gotta do your thing.
But I
It's
wanted
all
to ask
good.
you this. I wanted to ask you this a moment ago that we talked some time ago, and just a moment ago in our talk, you said that your ex girlfriend. That boggles me. That you said your ex girlfriend knocked at the door. Ex to me means there's nothing there. It's
Oh
gone. And
yeah, it was gone.
during the time of being together, you was able to, while you had the big X on her, to be transparent. And then you say she knocked and she knew to be persistent with this, and to make sure. I've had one time an incident where, and people may or may not believe this, but I was, where you go to the places where you get bread from and stuff like that. I didn't need the bread. I
Like
just
a food
bread.
pantry.
Yeah, yeah, food pantry. Bread. Center's food pantry. I'm gonna make a long story really short. So it was this guy. We had to pray and holding hands and stuff, and I happened to be by this guy. This guy, he was a white guy. He had some bizarre tattoos on him. So after praying, holding his hand, I looked at him and I said, and he looked scary, skull head scary. And I said, "You have a good heart. How do you know I have a good heart? How do you even know me? What's all?" And he was very defensive till he was like, finally broke down and told me. He said he told God. He was committing suicide that day. He said he told God he had already taken something. He just needed to drink some to die. He said, "Lord, if somebody cares about me, I won't drink this." He began to cry and fall apart. You never know when you are used for that saving grace, just like that man there. I had no idea that this man was going to commit suicide. We both hugged, and guess what the root was? Like you said, what your root was, your family. His root was he was running away from ministry, running away from being a youth helper of the youth. And I don't know what happened after that day, but that day made me feel good because he said he was just about to finish it off with committing suicide.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. Well, not a lot to unpack, but honestly, that's why I always tell people to be kind because you just never know what someone's going through. You just never know. On the outside they may seem like they have it all together, but you just never know. Um, so like backstory, like now my wife, we've been like high school sweethearts, so we've been dating for years, and unfortunately, the saying hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a dark place, so we broke up, and I have no idea. I can't even tell you why she came over to my house, right? But she did, and she known my behavior, my patterns, and she can tell something is wrong with me. The funny part about the story is she got the suicide prevention lifeline number like that, like prior to that, like a day or two before that. Yeah, they was talking about it at her job, and she didn't have no idea that she had to use it, right? Because I never heard of a suicide prevention lifeline number. And that was something I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. So that's just like the universe working it out. And during the process of me being in the behavioral health center, she kept calling to make sure I was okay, checking in. Not in a romantic way, like obviously she
Yeah,
cared
yeah,
about me enough to she was there when I big racked myself. And she was just making sure, like during the whole time, like, hey, you okay? Like, are you okay? And that really helped me out. Not in a like, oh, I want some like sexual seduction type of thing, but it helped me out to see the support. Right? It was the first time that I was not only being heard, but I was actually being seen.
mm,
And that's something that took me a while to get used to, right? You always hear people like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but like, no, you're acknowledging me. You're acknowledging my appearance, you're acknowledging everything about me. And that really helped me out in a sense of getting out of that negative mindset, the
Hmm.
suicidal ideation, or the attempts. It was like, okay, cool. Like she wasn't calling me every day after like I left. She was just like, send out a text, how you feeling? Uh, if you want to talk, you can talk. And during the time, like, the females that was interested in me, they wasn't doing anything like that. It was just more of
Mm.
I had told one of them like, hey, I unfortunately I attempted, and they was just like, for what? And it was just like, and I'm like, hey, I'm going through this and this, and then they just started laughing, and it took a lot for me not to like call out her name, obviously, because it's like it's frustrating. I'm like trying to be honest with you,
Exactly.
and I just learned like, hey, you're not for me,
That's
right?
so good.
And now we fast forward like years later, and I get a DM like, wow, you're doing your thing, like you're opening conferences, and your keynote speaking, like, man, it's crazy to see. And I was like, yeah, yeah, and like, oh, you're married now, like, congratulations. And the ego part of me, I had to like swallow. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna be petty because
That's right.
that's who I am by
That's so
nature.
good.
But I
Yeah.
was like, hey, thank you, I appreciate that. And I was just like, this is what happens when you believe in yourself and someone believes in you.
That is so nice.
Have a blessed one.
Care, like you say, we are in relationships, and we're going to end with this. We are in relationships where we care about the person, and we're only doing intimacy, just generally speaking. But to care about the health, the mental space, the whole well-being. I'm not saying we're not doing it, but it's far in between. But your ex, now wife, cared about all of you and gave you space, safe space for you, and gave you space to just figure it out. So amazing wife. Hope to see her one day. Maybe you guys around, but she's that helper in the background, I see. And and your children and everything. You have sons, daughters.
And yeah, I have both. I have a son and a daughter.
Wow, now your son, you're there as a father. You're there emotionally for him. You're there. Like I'm learning, a long story short, from my grandson. He's the 12-year-old and his brother is 20. I'm learning from his generation. He's born in 2011, and the other one's born in 201 or 20, '02 or '01. But I Jim Crow era, that's where I came from, where you seen and not heard until now. This grandson, he tell me, Grandma, you hurt my feelings. Well, shut up. I didn't hurt. Until now I'm learning, okay, so I hurt your feelings. So that's like a sticky place at first because I came from the Jim Crow era. They was sharecroppers. I'm sharecropper, daughter of a sharecroppers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so now it is him in this generation that caused me to see it's okay to share your feelings. It's okay for him to say, being a male, that I hurt his feelings. Or if I'm over talking and he's like, okay, Grandma, I'm hearing you, but he says it really nice. So I have to regroup and I say, grandson, I'm sorry. What were you saying? Now that took a long time, Jim Crow,
yeah,
Jim
yeah.
Crow era. Yep, this has been amazing. Tell the folks where they can reach you at. Thank you so much for coming out. Tell them
Anytime.
where they can reach you at.
So you could reach me at herbiemac.com on social media. I'm at Herbie Mac all over, so it's easy to find me. Herbie Mac and Mac and Mack. So much love. Thank you.
Thank you
And I
so
appreciate
much.
it. I always love our conversation.
Yeah, well,
So
I'm so glad. I'm going to try to, I think it's a way you can save this after I get off, and I'm going to just give it to you. And you mind if I upload it? Give you that
come on
permission?
now.
All
Come
right.
on
Thank you
now.
so much.
All
I'm going to
right.
try to do that.
Have
I'll
a
be fair to that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing
anytime.
space with us and continue what you do, especially for our community. I don't care if it's 15. I don't
I
care if
appreciate
it's one.
that.
And
That's
that's
all
what you
I want to do. Just touch
do.
that one person.
It's
That's it.
so amazing to see the face to the voice that I spoke to almost a year ago. Have
Yeah.
an amazing day. Thank you
You too.
so much. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That is Herbie Mack, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was amazing. Hopefully you guys listen to the replay. We was just in the conversation. see some of these things here. And thank you guys for your conversation. Thank you for being here. I'm off to my other show. Again, I'm Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats, where we bring page turners your way. We usually talk about book recommendations, book talk, author talk, and book discussions, and sometimes shows like this. Thank you to our guest, Herbie Mack. I will put the title there after I'm done with the video, and I'll re-edit and put the things in there. But thank you guys. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.